Friends, what makes an excellent online teacher? In today's video, we're going to understand the answer towards what makes an excellent online teacher. Hey folks, welcome to CSKSpeaks. In today's video, we are going to understand what makes an excellent online teacher. Now, why are we discussing online teacher once more? As we know that the third wave is engulfing the country and many states are actually shutting down their schools and colleges, which means those of us who felt that COVID is a temporary guest in our lives and now once COVID is over, we're going to go back to the physical classroom and go back to the chalk and talk methodology. I think all of them are now taking a step back and understanding as to where we are. Now, when we are talking about online teaching, we got to understand what entails online teaching and how can we become an excellent teacher, or who is an excellent online teacher. Is it the ability to navigate Zoom rooms and Google Classrooms which will make us excellent online teachers? Well, that's a just start. But the real essence of online teaching and to become an excellent online teacher is the ability to take and make decisions. Now you can see in my background, I have kept decision making at the center for online teaching. And travel with me as I'm going to decode these words and explain as to why and how they are connected towards online teaching. All right, so let's get started. If you have a piece of paper and pen, that will help because you can take notes. Because in this classroom, we are all here to become better versions of ourselves, and we can go on to be that exceptional online teacher. All right, so decision making. Now, when I talk of decision making, what am I referring to when it comes to decision making? Everything which involves responding to students, engaging with students, selecting the curriculum material, organizing your learning, and using communication strategies will involve decision making. Now, let's spend some time on this. Engaging students. In a physical classroom, we all used to connect with our students and try to get feedback, try to get them to answer our questions, try to participate in the class or ask them to participate, collaborate in the class. Same thing which we need to do, but everything which involves engagement needs to be decided. You got to plan it, you got to decide on the level of engagement, and especially in online teaching, higher the level of engagement, better it is for you as a teacher. Now, talking about responding to students. Responding to students. What does responding to students involve? Now, those days of you raising your voice or giving out the answers or picking up a student in the class are over. Now, all of us have same space on the screen, which is a 2x2 matrix of camera view. And in that, you got to respond to your student. So you have to make your decisions as to how and where you're going to integrate response in the classroom teaching. Whether it is through quizzes, whether it is through asking questions, whether it is for them to paraphrase whatever you have told them so far, or any other new ways which you're going to bring in to make your classroom more responsive. Now, the third one and the most important in this piece of decision making is your curriculum material, selecting the curriculum material. Now, what does selecting the curriculum material require? Now, all of us understand that online teaching involves a different way or different approach to make meaningful contribution and impact to the students and the learners. So, you have to select the curriculum material in that way. That means you will say yes to a lot of material, and at the same time, you will also be saying no to a lot of material, and that, my friend, is decision making. Next, organizing learning. Yes, In our physical classroom, we all know the importance and the impact of a lesson plan. If a lesson plan gives you an organized approach to completing your syllabus, in an online classroom, you still use a lesson plan, but you have to organize your learning in a manner which will help you make a more efficient use of the tools and the resources available at your disposal. Now, all this will be something similar to what you do in a physical classroom, because I can see you asking that question, in what way is online teaching different because I am doing the same thing? Yes, you are doing the same thing. What you need to consciously focus on right now is the decision making which involves your participation in keeping all these things intact, right? And last but not the least, communication strategies. Your ability to connect with students online, the ability to send messages through chat or through some kind of text, all that has to be decided, and that goes as the foundation of an excellent online teacher. Now, we have spoken about decision making at length in the first few minutes of this particular video, but we have not still got the answer. What makes an excellent online teacher, right? Now we go deeper in discovering the answer of how we can become an excellent online teacher. I say this again because everyone can become, if you can implement these simple 4 basic decision making set in your own teaching approach. All right, so get closer and take this notes down, because this is what is going to make you what you want to become in your online teaching journey. A teacher's decision making base. This is what I want to talk about in the next sheet, which will cover what are those 4 elements which will go into the teacher's decision making base. Yes, finally we are here at the teacher's decision making base. The first is content knowledge. I'll explain this, but I think for some of you have already figured it out. It is your ability to understand the curriculum and the total content which you need to cover in your class. Whatever may be the subject you are teaching, whether it is math, whether it is English, whether it is science, or even languages, your curriculum knowledge will be very, very crucial. Second is the pedagogical knowledge. Now, many times we often misplace content and curriculum with pedagogy. For those of us who want to clearly differentiate it in simple format, content knowledge is the what and pedagogical knowledge is the how. Let me give you an example. Let's take an example. I want to teach the concept of photosynthesis. But how am I going to teach? Am I going to take them to the garden? Am I going to bring a leaf into my class and ask the question, why is it green? Am I going to make an experiment? Am I going to give it as a project? What am I going to do to drive home the point and the concept is pedagogical knowledge. So that's the second piece. The third piece is very critical, especially in the diverse environment in which we operate, is the cultural awareness. What is cultural awareness? We all know that schools are becoming more and more inclusive, which means thanks to RTE, thanks to inclusion of slow learners or specially abled children or whatever, we are having a diverse set of people in our classroom, which means we need to be aware of, are we catering to every kind of learner? And even in a homogeneous set of learners, there are visual learners, there are auditory learners, there are kinesthetic learners, and there are many other different intelligences which are at play when it comes to engaging meaningfully with your children. So, cultural awareness becomes extremely critical. And last but not the least is self-awareness. I say that as last, but in no means it is least, because if I don't know my strengths, if I don't know myself, if I don't know what kind of snaps me or what kind of rubs me off on the wrong side, and what is the most preferred style of my engagement with people, then all these tools and techniques means nothing because you are not self-aware. Now you look at this sheet closely, and I'm going to shift my focus to the sheet right now. Content, pedagogy, cultural awareness, and self-awareness. At the intersection of all these four is good decisions. Good decisions are at the intersection of these four things. So you need to make a sound decision which will bring all these four things into a cohesion. Right? So that's the most important thing. Now, when you have this as your decision making set or the base for decision making, you can now ask this question: how can technology play a role in me becoming an excellent online teacher? Now, make no mistake, technology is just a tool. Technology is not some rocket science which is going to overnight transform you into a super teacher. In simple words, if I have to go back to the good old days, chalkboard or the green board or the black board is or was a piece of technology. That was your tool to translate your knowledge into learning for your students, isn't it? Think about it. It is just a tool. This piece of whiteboard and the chart paper is my tool, the technology which I'm using to teach you or to share this piece of valuable information through this video. It's just a tool. In that context, technology is just a tool. So you don't have to get carried away with all these apps and applications and softwares and videos which are available. Those are tools. You got to use them, but you got to decide on which and how you're going to use them. All right. So technology's role is that of empowering. It is that of enabling you, right? So that's where we get started in becoming an excellent online teacher. So technology and decision making works like this. In fact, I'm reminded of an example which I would like to share from my own classroom days. When I was at IIM Ahmedabad, I was doing this program and there was this professor by name Professor Dikshit. He reminded us of that virus in the Three Idiots character. You know, the man who had his trousers well up to his belly with uncombed hair, a little bit of a bald at the center, and then he comes in like a horse looking right down and just walks into the class and finishes his business and walks out. No nonsense kind of a teacher. Now, when that person used to walk in IIMs, we know that the preferred mode of imparting knowledge is through case studies. So they used to give us a case which used to run into 40, 45, 50 pages, and they would solve it in real-time basis with the class. So the Professor Dikshit used to walk into the class, and IIMs had two doors. So just a little bit of a personality check about him is he will lock both the doors. Because the rule in his class is he will be the last person to enter the class and the first person to get out, which means none of us can walk out of the class even to a bio break when the session is in progress. And normally these sessions will last for 2 to 2.5 hours. It's like watching a movie. And I say it's like watching a movie only because when he goes on stage and he takes that box of colorful chalk pieces and starts to solve the case, he will move from the left of the class board to the right of the class board, and in that 2.5 hours, he's going to solve the entire class. And the best part is, you as a participant in his class will be giving ideas and solutions and strategies to solve that particular case. And towards the end, when the whole thing is done and when he's about to walk out of the class, he will just look at the board and give it a good glance. And you should see the creation which he has done thanks to the participation and his entire way of dealing the class, that the whole case is solved on the green board. In fact, I'll try to pull out a photograph from my archives and I can post it on this video. We used to take a picture of that particular solution and stick it as a printout to that particular case study, because when we want to prepare for exams or when we want to revise that case, we don't have to go through the 45-50 pages. All we have to do is to look at that one piece and one page, and it gives you a complete bird's eye view of what the problem was, what the case was all about, and how we solved that particular case. So there, the piece of technology which Mr. Dixit or Professor Dixit was using was just simple, good old green board and colorful chalk piece. I hope you got the point, right? Now, let's get to the next level of, okay, these are the decision-making sets which involve me to become an excellent teacher online. Now, how do I go about implementing it, right? So let's get into the implementation phase. Now, implementation phase is pretty simple. The principles remain the same. By now, you got the drift. Factors influencing have changed. Okay, so the principles of a teacher and teaching learning process will remain the same, but the factors have changed now with online teaching. What are those two critical factors that have changed, right? The first one is classroom community. Now let's talk a little bit about classroom community. Classroom community, the way we know it, or the way we know and understand in today's times, is no longer that physical classroom with 4 walls and a roof on your head with 25 to 40 students sharing the space. No. Today, your classroom community is far and wide. It's as minimal as 7 or 9 students or even 15 students joining your class at a particular time, and as expansive as people joining your class from far and wide corners of the country, the city, or even for that matter, the world. There are enough and more examples where the class is attended by students across different timelines, and thanks to the new normal. So classroom community has changed, and that is one of the critical factors for you to focus on becoming an excellent online teacher. Now, what does this classroom community entail? When you look at classroom community, the connection with people, the nature of your connection with people and the relationships you build will change. Because it's no longer you are the boss in the classroom and you will tell the student, come and attend my class because I am your teacher. The student has all the autonomy to kind of exit your classroom at a click of a button, isn't it? So the nurturing of relationships, the nature of connection is going to change, and you got to be aware of it. Second, peer participation. Peer participation becomes very important because in the new community of online classes, the classroom community as we call it, you have to encourage more and more students to participate and to share with each other their learning. Third, you have to give options, or you have to give opportunities for people to participate and at the same time take some time off to reflect. Because in an online class, it is not that I will stand on the stage and keep talking. It's all about how are people responding and reciprocating to whatever sharing I am doing. So you need to give them enough opportunity and build a community for people to express their learnings. See the word community. Community does not mean one person do all the talking. Community means everybody has shared responsibility. That's why the factor of online teaching is now changing to classroom community and not a classroom space. Then you also have to look at how you can translate from the physical world to the digital world. Let me give you an example. Earlier, when a class is scheduled, the power dynamics were so that the teacher is at the helm of all affairs, and the children will have to just get drawn to the teacher to attend and participate in the class. Today, on a classroom community, a student has the power dynamic with his or her control, and they can schedule a class and teacher can be a participant. Now, as an excellent online teacher, first you got to let that thought enter your brain and be okay with the fact that they are in control and you don't have to be in control all the time. Are you ready for that? Are you okay to let that dynamic, the power dynamic shift to lose that control? And I'm not even actually using the word lose control in a negative connotation. I'm saying you got to let people take control, because that's how the community gets built. And last but not the least, when it comes to classroom community, is you got to circulate and observe students learning. What do I mean by that? In a physical classroom, you walk through the aisle and look at what students are doing with their classwork and homework and books, and are they behaving well and all that, and you ensure that people are participating in your lectures. In an online classroom, how do you do that? There are ways to do it, and go back to the decision making set. You got to participate, you got to observe how students are learning and reflecting and also engaging in the class. Because every time you take an online session, it's not about completing the syllabus. It's not about checking that box and said, I participated, I conducted, and I attended. No, it's about pushing the needle one step at a time. It's about becoming better and becoming a more participative leader in the classroom. So that's the first part, which is classroom community. Now let's go to the second part. And the second part is learning time. Now learning time is very important. Why? Look at the flexibility which online classes has given us. You can conduct your classes at 7 in the evening or 6 in the morning, right? No problem, because children have to just log in and tune in and be participating in your classroom. So the learning time has defined. It gives you more time. At the same time, it can be very crammed up for you, because you will have back-to-back sessions and you have to manage everything. Sometimes teachers are participating in 2 sessions at the same time on 2 different screens. So the factor of learning time is now getting redefined. Now, what does learning time entail? Learning time entail differentiated learning pathways. What is that? Different students can actually learn with you, from you, along with you, at the same time in a different way. Some students will see a video and learn, some students will participate in a quiz and learn, some students will do a project by the sidelines and then they will learn. So you have the opportunity to create differentiated learning pathways. So that's the one thing which the learning time has brought in, and they can do it at their pace. The beauty of technology oriented or integrated learning is about I learn at my pace, you learn at your pace, or you teach at your pace, and I can always reconnect and then improve or refine my learning. Time management tools. We all know that we have a timetable. In online classes, you can still use better tools to manage your timetable. For example, you can show your recorded classes for students who could not attend your class in time, but still let them catch up with your next session in time. But in a physical class, that's not going to happen, or that is not practically possible. You will have to repeat yourself, or you'll have to tell somebody to share their notes with the student who could not attend your last class. So there are multiple advantages, but then are you aware of all of that? That's the factor which is now coming into play as long as the online teaching is concerned. Then you have feedback. In technology, children will not wait to give you feedback till you ask them. They are going to give you feedback, and the worst feedback you can get is when the child says, "Ma'am, there is a network problem and I can't hear you." That's the worst feedback. Make no mistake, the child is not trying to tell you that there is a technical glitch. The child is telling you that your class is not engaging enough and I don't want to attend, might as well I'll do something else. So, are you conscious and aware of the feedback? Are you taking it and are you doing something about it? As a school, as a teacher, all of us have to be conscious of that feedback which is coming from the pupils or the learners in the classroom. And then you have a variety of options when it comes to class time. I already covered it at the beginning, like you can schedule it in the morning, you can schedule it in the afternoon, you can have a feedback session, you can have a quick check-in. All of that you can do when it comes to learning time. So these factors will keep evolving with time, with new tools coming in, with new options coming in, and with new ways and means of improving efficiency. But then you have to understand that this, in a nutshell, is the essence of becoming an excellent online teacher. Finally, To conclude, I will borrow the words of George Couros. George Couros once said, "Technology will never replace a great teacher, but technology in the hands of a great teacher is transformational." Thank you very much and all the very best in your journey of becoming an excellent online teacher, because the time to become an excellent online teacher has arrived and it is here and now.